Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck. I'm a parenting expert and I have worked with lots of children with sexual addictions. In this video today, we're going to talk all about how to talk to your kids about porn. There's two different times that we need to talk to our kids about porn. Before they ever see anything or get exposed to anything, and then sometimes, sadly, after they've already been exposed. But in this video, we're going to talk about those two ways that we discuss porn with our children. Be sure to stay to the end of this video because I'm going to share some key tips for how to conquer pornography and how to help your children stop having this problem. And you know what? Some of these tips are easier than you might think. The conversations that you have before a child may have exposure to pornography are vital. In fact, these conversations set the stage for whether your child knows how to handle something if they happen to see something accidentally pop up, if a friend happens to show them something at school, if they run into something at the store. Yes, at the store. There's different types of pornography. There's soft pornography and hard pornography. Of course, the hard stuff is like really, really graphic, but the soft stuff just grooms them to get used to seeing people without their clothes on and in compromising situations. Sometimes they're jokes, sometimes they're on television shows. These are things that just prepare a child. And you know what? Not everybody can process those things and keep their mind away from pornography. So just keep that in mind. So these conversations that we have before are vital. We're going to talk about how to discuss pornography before a child might have any kind of exposure. Then we'll get to how to discuss pornography after a child may have been exposed and how to help them conquer that problem. So first, what do you do when your child is getting to that age where you know you need to discuss pornography? And honestly, that age is not a set age. So there might be a child that is 8 or 9 years old that you feel like you need to discuss this with. For sure, by age like 13 and 14, you have to be discussing that because statistics prove that children that are 14, girls and boys alike, have usually all been exposed to something at this point in time, which is super sad, but is just sadly part of the way our culture is grooming and raising our children. So the first thing you need to do when you talk to the child is pull them aside and have a private discussion. There can be general family discussion that happens in your home about staying away from porn and stuff like that, but having a really good heart-to-heart connected discussion about pornography is definitely going to be better one-on-one. Let's talk about when we need to discuss porn with our children. Sometimes we need to discuss it when they're younger than we might imagine, just because of what's going on in society. So sometimes you might discuss pornography with a 7 or 8 year old. If you feel prompted to do that, if you feel like that's something you should do, then definitely do, because that could mean there's a problem. But definitely discuss pornography with children when they are like 13, 14. By the time a child is 14, they for sure have seen pornography no matter what, pretty much according to statistics. After you get in that private conversation time with your child, then you want to make sure that they clearly understand what types of things can be pornographic. So you've got to describe what pornography is. Pornography is anything that titillates a person or leads them in direction of sexual thoughts or sexual feelings. These can be words, images, videos, audio recordings. There's so many different ways that a person can become titillated. You want them to be able to clue in to how they might feel. So sometimes this even means talking about if they have a feeling occurring in their genital region. You might need to be talking to them about that. Now, as part of this discussion on what pornography really means, what it is, you want to also talk about bondage and talk about freedom. Talk about bodily cravings controlling you as bondage, and talk about you making a decision for yourself and sticking to it as freedom. Next, you'll want to talk about discernment. Not everybody thinks of teaching their children skills of discernment, but these are vital to make it through these days that we live in, which are so riddled with pornography at every turn. So try to have a discussion with your child where they tell you how they know when something is good and how they know when something is bad. And if they don't know, if they can't feel one way or another, then help them by telling them how you know and what you feel, so that they can start to get in tune with some of those feelings of discernment within themselves. The third thing that you need to do is set boundaries. This means that there's certain times that a person can, say, view a computer or a digital device. There's certain places that they can do that. You probably want to always be keeping it in a central location in your home. And then there's certain skills that they can have to help them maintain proper boundaries. So one of the skills that I teach all of my children, which is a self-government skill, I am the self-government lady, so people come to me for these types of skills. This skill is called how to accept a no answer. There are 4 steps to accepting a no answer. You look at the person, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately, and then drop the subject. So what if something is coming at you that you know there's a boundary line there that you shouldn't cross? That's the same as hearing a no. Like, no, I shouldn't cross that boundary line. So you look at the situation, you keep a calm face, voice, and body, and you say, nope, I'm not crossing that line. So that's the okay, I'm not crossing the line. And then you drop the subject, which means if you've got a device or you're looking at something, then you put it down and you walk away. You've got to teach them a skill so that they can make sure to keep themselves safe if a moment arises. The most basic skill that you can teach them for trying to stay safe in our pornographic world is to recognize something might have pornography or recognize something might be a boundary they shouldn't cross, and then stop themselves, put down whatever it is, the device, close down the lid, and then go and report. Report means come and talk to you. They need to report on what could have occurred to somebody else, and they need to report on what could have occurred to them. So teach them that if they see somebody else viewing porn, to also stop, walk away, and come and report to you. Finally, in your before discussion, probably the most important thing that you can do is have a really good understanding tone, and that you can let them know that your tone or your feeling about this is completely safe. If something happens, you're never going to be shocked. You know the type of world we live in. You also know that things can happen, that things can pop up unexpectedly, and that you are always going to be there to help. You will never be mad at them if something occurs, if they happen to see something. You've got to keep that door open, and the way that you feel during the discussion, the tone that you carry, will help create a bond that keeps an open door and an open discussion for the future. The second type of discussion about porn that we might have with our children is when we either detect that they might be viewing porn, or if they've reported to us that they are viewing porn. If they come and report to us, then we need to praise them, let them know this is a safe person to talk to about it, and then we start making plans with them for how to solve the problem. If we think they might be viewing porn, if we kind of get a feeling or they're showing some signs of being disconnected from us, then we need to follow our gut, go to them. Don't ask, are you viewing porn? That is the wrong question. Instead say, you know what? I know you're at the age where porn can start creeping in and sometimes you can start viewing it. I'm pretty sure that's where you're at right now. Let's go ahead and have a discussion about it so that we can help you conquer this. Just go ahead and assume that that's the situation. And if they protest and like, no, I'm really not. You can say, I'm glad you're not, but we still need to have this discussion. Don't make a big deal about like a witch hunt. That's not the type of conversation that you want to have with your child. They automatically put up barriers and walls, and it makes it so that you can't help them, which is the whole goal. Most importantly, during this time, you have to remind yourself not to take it personally. Sometimes thinking about pornography and your child being involved in pornography can really feel like you've been hurt. It can feel like your poor child has been somehow drug through the garbage, that they're dirty, that they're violated, and sometimes we might even not know how to bond to them during that time. We've got to tell ourselves, don't take it personally. This is the time for us to accept a no answer. We can't cave in to those emotions. We have to decide to be okay with the fact that it happened and to help them get to the next place. If they find that strength in us, then they will also find the strength within themselves to be able to conquer this and to move on to more freedom where the pornography doesn't have control over them. Earlier I told you that we were going to talk about how to help them conquer it. So after you've had your discussion with them and you've recognized that, we can go forward in this and I'm not going to take it personally and there's hope for us, then what you do is you identify exactly how the occurrence happened. Were they bored? Were they alone somewhere? Did they have a device in a place that they shouldn't have? Is there a friend that needs to be discontinued or needs to be talked to, or does there need to be some intervention there? How is it that they are accessing this pornography? Then once you have that assessment done, then you can make a plan with your child. Make a proactive plan. Say, we need to have checkups regularly, daily at first, and then maybe weekly. And we need to see if it was a good day or a bad day. You get the child a planner or a calendar, and they have a certain mark that they put on the calendar if it was a good day, and a certain mark if it was a bad day. And those bad days, we're not going to take it personally. We're going to talk about them and help them through. But we are going to definitely keep track of our progress. If the child keeps track of their progress and has conversations with you about it, just short conversations on a daily and weekly basis, then they will have the support they need to be able to conquer it. The worst thing a child can do is hide it. Don't make your child hide it from ecclesiastical leaders, and don't make them hide it from you. Of course, they don't need to talk about it with their friends. That's not really that appropriate. So you make a plan with your child, which includes, if they see it, what to do. Stop, put it down, report it, just like you taught them before they ever saw anything. And then also you're going to incorporate the reporting system that happens regularly, daily and weekly. When you're drawn into pornography, this is a chemical and an emotional response. It could be really helpful for you to probably watch my next video, which is how to control your emotions in the moment. Click on that video now, and that can give you some added information to help you when you're talking to your children, and to help your children when they're trying to control their emotions and chemicals when the moment is arising with a craving for pornography.